The alarm clock is the universal starting gun. For most, it signals the beginning of a chaotic rush, a scramble against time. But for a select few, the elite performers, it is the first, precise chime in a carefully orchestrated symphony. These are the titans of industry, the record-breaking athletes, the virtuoso artists. They achieve not through random bursts of brilliance, but through relentless, invisible consistency. Their success is not a happy accident. It is a mathematical certainty born from meticulous daily construction. We see the trophies, the headlines, and the standing ovations. We see the peak performance, the glorious outcome. But we rarely see the hidden architecture that supports it all, the routine. The power of routine is not merely about doing the same things every day. It is about removing the friction of decision-making from the critical moments of performance. It is about conserving finite mental energy, or willpower, for the truly challenging tasks. Every moment not spent choosing is a moment spent executing. This film, this investigation, peels back the curtain on the lives of those operating at the very pinnacle of human potential. We are searching for a pattern. We are looking for the common threads in the meticulously woven tapestries of their days. From the Silicon Valley CEO who codes for 2 hours before sunrise to the Olympic swimmer who visualizes every stroke before her feet even touch the water, a silent, powerful agreement exists: the day must be controlled before it controls you. The hook lies in the paradox. These are people whose careers are defined by unpredictability, a sudden market crash, a game day injury, a creative block. Yet, their personal lives are defined by almost monastic, unwavering structure. It's the structure that provides the sanctuary, the bedrock from which they can launch into the unknown. We begin with a question that hangs heavy in the air of every success story: is genius truly a spark of divine inspiration, or is it merely the predictable, repeatable output of a superior system? The answer, we suspect, is not in their talent, but in their timepiece. Our journey takes us across continents, examining the daily lives of 3 distinct pillars of elite performance. First, the creative icon, a best-selling novelist, known for her prolific output and immersive world-building. Her challenge is the battle against the blank page and the fickle muse. Second, the business maverick, a founder who scaled a company from a garage startup to a global powerhouse. His battlefield is the unforgiving landscape of competitive commerce and the relentless demand for high-stakes decisions. Third, the physical master, a decorated marathon runner whose body is a precision instrument, demanding daily calibration. Her success is measured in fractions of a second and the brutal arithmetic of endurance. These 3 individuals, separated by discipline, share a fundamental belief in the primacy of the schedule. Their lives are not chaotic jumbles of to-do lists, but elegant, cyclical processes designed for maximal output and recovery. The stage is set in the small, intimate moments of their mornings, far from the glare of the public eye. We start not with their public triumphs, but with their pre-dawn rituals. The novelist, we observe, begins not with coffee, but with a 20-minute, technology-free meditation session, clearing the neural clutter before a single word is typed. This isn't relaxation, it's cognitive hygiene. The CEO, conversely, dedicates his first 90 minutes to his hardest strategic problem, the deep, uninterrupted work that moves the needle. He calls this his zero email zone. The runner's first action is a precise, calculated hydration ritual and a mobility routine, preparing her body not just for the day's miles, but for the cumulative stress of a professional career. The common setting is not a luxurious office or a state-of-the-art gym, but the quiet solitude of focused intent. Their routines are highly personal, yet the underlying principles are strikingly universal. They have all found their non-negotiable hour, that block of time dedicated to the highest leverage activity, protected at all costs from the demands of the outside world. This deliberate structuring is the foundation we will investigate. The core mystery we face is the gap between intention and action. Everyone wants to be consistent, yet only the elite are. What is the invisible mechanism that transforms the ephemeral desire for success into the tangible, relentless discipline required to sustain it? The problem is the fallacy of the big decision. Most people assume elite performance requires a Herculean act of willpower every single day. They believe the CEO wakes up and chooses to be disciplined, or the athlete forces herself out the door. Our initial findings suggest the opposite. Willpower is a limited resource, easily depleted by mundane choices: what to wear, what to eat, which email to answer first. The elite have strategically minimized their reliance on it. Their routines are not acts of discipline, they are acts of pre-commitment. They design their environment and schedule to make the optimal path the path of least resistance. The mystery deepens when we examine the concept of flow state. The most profound moments of creation and performance are often described as effortless, a state where the performer and the task merge. How can this seemingly spontaneous, almost magical state be reliably manufactured on a daily basis? The answer is the ritualized on-ramp. The routines act as cognitive triggers, signaling to the brain that it is time to switch into deep work mode. The writer's specific playlist, the CEO's particular blue light blocking glasses, the runner's familiar route, these are not superstitions. They are psychological cues that bypass the internal debate, the procrastination, and the anxiety of starting. The initial problem is not a lack of motivation, it is the inefficiency of motivation. The elite have outsourced the need for motivation to the system they have built. They have turned the volatile emotion of desire into the steady, reliable engine of habit. The mystery is solved not by searching for a secret, unique hack, but by acknowledging the profound efficiency of repetition. The first major clue emerged from a comparative analysis of their workday structures. We discovered a consistent, three-part rhythm, a powerful, almost biological cycle embedded in their routines, which we term the Trifecta of Focus. This is the crucial discovery that underpins sustained, high-level performance, peak work, deep recovery, and cognitive transition. The average person works in long, low-intensity blocks, interspersed with distracted breaks. The elite work in hyper-focused, shorter bursts, followed by equally deliberate, high-quality periods of rest that are not the same as distraction. The most illuminating clue was the placement of their peak work. It was almost universally scheduled during the morning, aligning with the body's natural circadian rhythm for maximum focus and mental acuity. They don't just tackle their biggest task, they tackle it when their biological and cognitive resources are at their absolute highest. The marathon runner's most challenging interval training is completed by 9 a.m. The novelist writes her most complex chapter openings before noon. The CEO holds his most challenging strategy meetings before the midday slump. This is the understanding of chronotypes in action. They don't fight their natural energy cycles, they design their routine around them. The crucial discovery, however, is in the deep recovery phase. For the elite, recovery is an active part of the routine, not a passive consequence of exhaustion. It might be a 20-minute power nap, a complete disconnect from screens, or a specific, meditative walk. This deliberate downtime is what allows them to access a second, and often a third, productive work block in the afternoon. It is the intelligent management of energy, not the brutal management of time, that differentiates them. The routine is not a cage, it is a regenerative cycle. To understand the power of routine, we must contextualize its origins not in modern self-help culture, but in the history of high-stakes performance. Our deep dive takes us back to the structured lives of military strategists, classical composers, and ancient philosophers. They all understood that a mind burdened by triviality cannot grasp the sublime. The context is this: routines are historically a mechanism for managing complexity and chaos. In a world of increasing noise, the elite recognize that their most valuable asset is their attention. The routine is the firewall against the digital and psychological demands that seek to steal it. We explore the Seinfeld strategy, the simple yet powerful routine of marking an X on a calendar every day a creative task is completed. The power of this is not the X itself, but the unbroken chain, creating a visual, non-negotiable proof of consistency. This is the psychological scaffolding of their daily architecture. Furthermore, we examine the concept of keystone habits. This is a single, foundational habit within the routine that, when executed, triggers a cascade of other positive behaviors. For the CEO, his keystone habit is his morning workout. The resulting boost in energy and clarity makes his later zero-email zone almost effortless. For the runner, it's her pre-sleep journaling, which clears her mind and guarantees restorative sleep, making the 4 a.m. wake-up possible. The routine gains its power not from the sheer number of good habits, but from the strategic placement of a few, highly leveraged keystone actions. The origin of the routine is therefore not about achieving a task, but about establishing a self-reinforcing, virtuous cycle. By controlling the small, predictable elements of their day, they gain the cognitive and emotional capital to handle the large, unpredictable elements of their careers. The discipline is in the design. In the world of performance, two conflicting theories constantly vie for dominance: the theory of spontaneous genius versus the theory of structured practice. One argues that true breakthroughs come from moments of unbridled, spontaneous inspiration, where routine stifles creativity. The other posits that inspiration is merely the predictable reward for consistent, deliberate work. For our elite performers, the stakes escalate when they face a critical inflection point, burnout, plateauing, or a major professional setback. In these moments of crisis, the conflicting theories are put to the ultimate test. Does the structured routine break down, or does it become the necessary anchor? Our evidence overwhelmingly supports the latter. The routine becomes the emergency operating system. When the novelist faces a crippling bout of writer's block, she doesn't abandon her schedule. She merely changes the content of her routine, not the container. She may switch from writing new content to editing old chapters, or to reading for research, but the non-negotiable 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. work block remains untouched. This is the crucial distinction. The routine provides emotional resilience by reducing the need for heroic effort when motivation is low. The stakes are highest in the business mavericks world, where a single, emotionally charged decision can cost millions. He maintains an evening routine designed to fully decompress his nervous system. By separating himself physically and mentally from the decision-making process for several hours, he ensures that the next morning's crucial decisions are made with a clear, rested mind, free from the residual emotional charge of the previous day. The routine, in essence, is a hedge against failure, a commitment to show up and execute, even when the spark of genius is absent. Every elite performer reaches a point of no return in their journey with routine. This is the moment the routine stops being an obligation and becomes an intrinsic part of their identity. It moves from something I do to who I am. This transition is the true power-up of the system. For the marathon runner, this was not winning a major race, it was running every single day for 10 straight years, regardless of weather, injury, or mood. The act itself became non-negotiable, a fundamental law of her personal universe. Once this point is reached, the cognitive load associated with the routine drops to zero. There is no internal debate. There is only execution. The mental energy saved by eliminating this daily friction is then channeled directly into performance. We explore the neurological shift associated with this point. Habit formation, at its core, is the creation of neural pathways that automate sequences of behavior. The point of no return signifies the moment these pathways are so deep and reinforced that deviating from the routine causes more discomfort than adhering to it. It creates a psychological homeostasis. The business maverick, who initially found it difficult to turn off his phone at 9 p.m., now finds the noise and light of the screen at that hour genuinely jarring. The routine has literally reprogrammed his desire. This profound shift is the reason why the elite can sustain performance where others burn out. They are not fighting their nature, they have meticulously engineered a new nature. The commitment is now to the system itself, understanding that the system is the engine of all future success. The halfway revelation, the midpoint twist in our investigation, is the discovery that the power of routine lies not in its rigidity, but in its adaptability. Many interpret elite routines as unbreakable, ironclad schedules. They envision a robotic adherence that leaves no room for human spontaneity. The twist is that the most successful routines are, in fact, highly flexible, possessing a deep understanding of what must be done and what can be moved. It's a sophisticated hierarchy of priorities, not a flat, linear schedule. This allows them to navigate the inevitable disruptions of a high-stakes life without letting the entire system collapse. The core non-negotiable elements remain, but the secondary tasks are fluid. We observe the novelist adapting her routine when she has a sick child. She doesn't write from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Instead, she schedules 2 90-minute writing blocks after the child is asleep, maintaining the critical, deep work quota, even if the timing is shifted by 12 hours. This is the concept of minimum viable routine. The elite know the absolute minimum amount of work and recovery required to maintain momentum. They understand that a 50% routine is infinitely better than a 0% routine. This counters the common, perfectionistic approach that leads many to abandon their entire structure after one missed day. The twist is that the routine is not a fixed monument, it is a modular, anti-fragile machine designed to absorb shocks and continue functioning. Its power is not in preventing change, but in managing it gracefully and strategically. New evidence from sports psychology and neuroscience confirms the profound psychological impact of this adaptive routine. It is a potent antidote to anxiety and overwhelm. The world of an elite performer is a high-pressure environment, rife with uncertainty and judgment. The routine acts as a psychological buffer, a predictable internal landscape in a turbulent external world. By automating their mornings, they secure an early win for the day, which generates momentum and confidence. This is the psychological phenomenon of the small success cascade. Every successful execution of a routine step, the morning hydration, the 10-minute stretch, the completion of the first task, releases small doses of dopamine, creating a self-perpetuating positive feedback loop. The business maverick confesses that his most stressful days are the ones where he deviates from his morning structure. The simple act of checking email before his strategic work causes a spike in reactionary thinking, anxiety, and a loss of control. The routine, therefore, is not merely a tool for productivity, it is a mental health strategy. By compartmentalizing their day, they create boundaries that protect their psychological well-being. Work is for work time, recovery is for recovery time. This disciplined separation prevents the corrosive effect of always-on culture. The psychological impact is a profound sense of agency and control. They are not merely responding to the demands of the world, they are deliberately shaping their response, and that feeling of control is the most powerful performance enhancer of all. The truth about elite routines, that they are simple, deliberate, and often mundane, is constantly suppressed by the glamorous narrative of hustle culture and overnight success. The attempts to suppress this truth come primarily from media and pop culture, which prefer the compelling story of the genius who stays up all night fueled by caffeine, relying on manic energy to produce their best work. This narrative is exciting, but it is ultimately a path to burnout, not sustained excellence. The elite, by contrast, are often criticized for being boring, for their lack of spontaneous chaos. They actively reject the glamorization of exhaustion. This is a quiet rebellion against a destructive societal norm. We interview experts on peak performance who describe the detrimental effect of these suppressed narratives. They explain that the myth of the tortured genius gives people permission to be disorganized, to mistake busyness for productivity, and to neglect the fundamentals of sleep and rest. The elite performers we study are masters of the unsexy details. Their routines prioritize 8 hours of high-quality sleep, a consistent wake-up time even on weekends, and structured downtime over networking events or late-night sprints. The truth is simple: high performance is a marathon, not a sprint, and the marathon requires a predictable fuel and recovery cycle. The suppression of this truth is, in a way, an emotional comfort for the non-performer, allowing them to cling to the hope of a magical shortcut rather than embracing the difficult, boring work of daily structure. The final confrontation for any elite performer is the battle against their own success. As their status and influence grow, so too does the gravitational pull of external demands, the interviews, the board meetings, the travel, the media obligations. This is the ultimate test of their routine's resilience. The pursuit is to protect the fragile, high-value blocks of time against an increasingly insistent world that believes their time is its own. We observe how the elite actively structure their environment and their teams to be a buffer against this intrusion. They don't just say no, they design their lives to make no the default answer to anything that threatens their priorities. The business maverick's routine now involves a chief of staff whose primary function is to act as a gatekeeper, shielding his deep work block and his recovery time. The novelist literally moves to a cabin with no internet access for 3 months of the year, a radical but necessary act of self-preservation. This confrontation with the world highlights a key routine principle: automation of resistance. They don't rely on day-to-day willpower to reject demands. They have built an infrastructural defense system. This shows that the routine must evolve from a personal schedule into a codified management system for their entire life and career. The routine is not static, it is a continuously updated strategic plan for maintaining peak output in the face of escalating success and demands. As we piece together the final elements of the elite performance routine, a picture emerges that is less about what they do and more about what they don't do. The final pieces fall into place around the concept of subtraction, not addition. Their routines are powerful because they are streamlined, stripping away complexity and noise. They have identified that the zero-sum distractions, activities that offer momentary pleasure but subtract from future performance, and systematically eliminated them. This includes mindlessly scrolling social media, answering non-urgent communications instantly, and engaging in unnecessary meetings. The critical final piece is the end-of-day ritual. Just as important as the starting gun is the finish line. The elite never simply stop, they perform a precise sequence to ensure tomorrow's success. This involves a 5-minute review of the day's progress, a quick triage of tomorrow's top 3 priorities, and a physical act of tidying their workspace. This ritual closes the cognitive loop on the current day, preventing the brain from continuing to process unfinished tasks, known as the Zeigarnik effect, and ensures they start the next day with immediate clarity. The power of their routine is not just in how they begin, but in the deliberate, systematic way they conclude and transition, setting a clean stage for the next performance. The primary conclusion, the truth revealed by investigating the daily lives of these elite performers, is that the power of routine is the power of decision fatigue management. Their routines are the tangible expression of a strategic decision to minimize the total number of choices they must make on a daily basis. They have moved the critical decisions, what to work on, when to rest, when to eat, how to start the day, to a single point in time, usually the night before or the Sunday night planning session. By deciding once, they free up mental bandwidth that is then poured into the highly leveraged work that defines their careers. The genius lies in the automation of the mundane. This realization fundamentally reframes the concept of discipline. It is not about forcing yourself to do hard things every hour, it is about designing a life where the hard things are the default path. Their success is a product of superior systems design, not superior genetic willpower. This is an empowering truth, because systems can be learned, adopted, and adapted. It democratizes the path to elite performance. Anyone can build a keystone habit, identify their chronotype, or establish a strict end-of-day ritual. The routine is not a secret blueprint, it is a universal principle of energy conservation and intentional focus. The routine is the ultimate cognitive shortcut, ensuring that the performer is always operating at the highest possible efficiency. The legacy of this approach is a new model of sustainable, long-term excellence. The aftermath of adopting a powerful routine is the elimination of the spectacular crash and burn that characterizes many successful but undisciplined careers. The modern ties to this methodology are everywhere, from the rise of maker's schedule, manager's schedule philosophy in tech to the structured periodization in athletic training. It has become the silent, foundational operating system for anyone seeking to maximize their output over decades, not just months. The routine ensures longevity. We look at the modern implications, particularly in the digital age. The current environment is hostile to deep focus, with notifications and endless streams of data constantly vying for attention. The elite routine is, therefore, a highly advanced tool for digital defense. The structured work blocks are periods of digital isolation, and the recovery periods are technology fasts. The most successful modern routines are fundamentally routines of exclusion. They are defined by the walls they build to protect their focus. The legacy is a shift in the definition of hard work. It is no longer about the number of hours spent, but the quality of the focus achieved. This principle is now being taught in schools, in corporate leadership programs, and to young athletes as the fundamental building block of success in the attention economy. In concluding our deep dive into the lives of elite performers, the full power of routine is clear. It is the architectural plan that transforms raw potential into predictable, repeatable high performance. The routine is not just a schedule, it is a shield against decision fatigue, a trigger for peak cognitive states, and an anti-fragile system for managing external chaos. We have seen that success is a matter of designing the day to automate the simple, protect the deep work, and ritualize the recovery. The elite are not born with superhuman discipline, they simply have a superior operational strategy for their time and energy. They live by the credo, control your day, control your life. Yet, a lingering mystery remains, the human element. While the system is universal, the content of the routine remains deeply personal. The question is not if you need a routine, but which routine unlocks your unique genius. The ultimate challenge is the sustained self-awareness required to continuously refine and adapt the routine to an evolving self and career. The journey of performance is a journey of perpetual adjustment, of listening to the signals of the body and mind and recalibrating the system. The power of routine, then, is an ongoing negotiation, a constant conversation between your highest aspirations and your daily habits. The alarm will sound tomorrow, and the elite performers will not rely on a motivational speech to rise. They will rise because the system they built demands it, effortlessly and without question.